The Steelers are riding high at the top of the AFC North following a 3-0 start. But another road test is on the way this afternoon as Anthony Richardson and the Colts host another conference clash from Lucas Oil Stadium. We have all the latest on the teams and the matchup coming up next. You are watching Steelers Kickoff, and it's live right here on KDKA TV.
Welcome to BetMGM Steelers Kickoff.
Lucas Oil Stadium, the site of today's Steeler game against the Indianapolis Colts. Steelers are back there for the second time in as many years. And here's a live look inside the stadium as the Steelers prepare to put that undefeated record on the line with another AFC opponent, a game you will watch live right here on KDKA TV. And welcome inside our KDK studios. I'm Bob Pompeani. Rich Walsh and Gerry Dulac will be along in a couple of moments. As always, flanked by the quarterback of the program. That's Mr. Charlie Batch. And the Steelers, Charlie, are 3-0 after 3 weeks. And before the season, did you think we'd be sitting here, 3-0 after 3?
I didn't think we'd be sitting at 3-0. I thought it was definitely going to be 2-1 for sure. But this is why it's important to get off to a fast start. Understanding how brutal the schedule is in the second half, this is why you have to do it at the beginning of the season. Yeah,
that's second half schedule is tough. And one of the main reasons for the Steelers' early season success has definitely been on the shoulders of this strong defensive play. There's no question through the first 3 weeks of the season. So let's jump right into our Hyundai by the numbers. As you can see, the Steelers lead in total points allowed, yards allowed, first downs allowed. They haven't given up a rushing touchdown all season, and they are tops in the league third down conversion percentage, which is the exact opposite of last season. And Charlie, the defense has been very good for years, but this year they look even better. Now, aside from health issues, what's been the main reason for this dominance?
Yeah, for me, I'm watching first and second down by this Steelers unit. They are able to get those opposing quarterbacks behind the sticks, putting them in third and long situations, and that doesn't happen if you're not dominant that way. And that plays right into the Steelers' strength, and then from there, they're able to now play off of that lead.
Unfortunately, that defense will have to try and stop the Colts today, specifically Jonathan Taylor, without starting linebacker Alex Highsmith. He re-injured his groin last week, but luckily they have a very capable replacement in Nick Herbig. And Charlie, we have seen our share of Herbig the past couple of seasons in our preseason broadcast. Do you think he would be a top starter on another team, and how big is it that he could step right in and do this?
Yeah, this is big for him, and I think when you look at where you're at, could he do this on another team? It's possible, but yet you don't have to necessarily worry about that because he's on the rookie contract. But here he is learning behind Alex Highsmith, T.J. Watt. You know he's a sponge, and of course, when he gets the opportunity, he's going to deliver. And this is why Terrell Austin, defensive coordinator, put those packages together, having him on the field as 3 rushers, and now he gets his opportunity here with the Highsmith injury.
And playing every down is a little different than just edge rushing once in a while, so that'll be a test for him. And for more on the Steelers' injury situations that set out to Lucas Oil Stadium, Rich Walsh is standing by with Gerry Dulac.
All right, thanks a lot, Bob. The biggest loss today is Alex Highsmith out with a groin injury, but maybe the bigger question, Gerry, is how much longer will he be out?
Well, Rich, they expect Alex Highsmith to miss 3 games starting today against the Colts. And the good news is we've seen what Nick Herbig can do off the edge whenever he's been in the game. Had 2 sacks last week. He's actually very disruptive in the backfield. For what they're going to miss with Alex Highsmith, that he does better than Nick Herbig and even T.J. Watt, and that is he sets the edge in the rush defense.
So we see they have depth at outside linebacker, but what about the depth in the secondary? Corey Trice is going to be out for a few weeks now. How does that secondary shape up without depth like him?
Yeah, Corey Trice's injury is disappointing both for him and for the Steelers because they've seen him rise to the number 3 cornerback. They put him on IR, so that's a minimum 4 games with that hamstring injury. That's a pretty significant tear for him to be on IR. James Pierre is going to fill that role. I know they just signed him a week ago, but he has familiarity with this defense, and he's the one that they're going to rely on instead of Corey Trice right now.
All right, now to the offense, and Justin Fields coming off his best game as a Steeler. Do you think Arthur Smith's going to open up that playbook a little bit more this week?
Well, Rich, I think each game he goes, you see him get a little bit more comfortable, but I don't think you're just going to see the Steelers come out and open it up right away. They want to try and get Justin Fields into the game. They want him to ease into the game, and then as the game evolves, you'll see them try to attack. But it's not like they're just going to sit there and throw it open and say, okay, let's see what you can do. They're going to stick to Mike Tomlin's philosophy is don't try to win the game, just try not to lose it.
Try not to lose it. All right, thanks a lot, Gerry. As always, great stuff. Now back to you guys in Pittsburgh.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate that. As I mentioned last week, it may have been Justin Fields' best game yet. He was especially productive on third downs in the middle of the field. What did you see from him against the Chargers last week, especially on third down?
Yeah, and I think that when you look at what was going on early, they tried to take their shots down the field. It didn't happen. That's why he got off to a slow start as it relates to getting into his rhythm. But as the game went on, he settled down, be able to drop, set his feet, deliver the football in the middle of the field, just like you saw there to Calvin Austin. And, of course, going through his reads, looking left, looking right, and then he's able to deliver on that big touchdown pass to Calvin Austin. So these are things that you can see as the game goes on. But, again, as the game is moving forward, that's where that running game gets going, and they're able to utilize that play-action game.
I love the middle of the field. We'll talk more about that coming up in our Cleveland Brothers quarterback analysis. Fields, his game certainly picked up in the second half last week. And let's take a look at what this offense did. It's really stunning in the final two quarters against the Chargers. Fields threw for 147 yards in the second half alone. They ran for exactly 100 yards as a team in the second half alone. They racked up 14 first downs and controlled the ball for over 2/3 of the second half in the second half alone. That sounds like a recipe for success no matter what level of football you are talking about.
And I think when I look at that, I love in the second half how they're now leaning on that running game. And I love the philosophy with Arthur Smith. He's like, listen, we're going to run the football. You have to stop it, and you can't. And as they go and continue to do it, and that was very similar to what happened in the Chargers in the second half. And if Arthur's going to stay in that particular philosophy, expect a lot of low-scoring games.
And you can see the other team just wilting as the game went on because it's very difficult to have that defense on the field as much as the Chargers were. Hey, we're just getting started here on Steelers Kickoff. When we come back, Rich Walsh has a chat with Steelers linebacker T.J. Watt. It's coming up next right here on KDKA.
Welcome back to BetMGM Steelers Kickoff.
Well, it's no secret the Steelers' dominant defense is driven by former Defensive Player of the Year T.J. Watt, who, in my opinion, should have won it again last season. So he has that motivation moving forward. He's off to another incredible start. Rich Walsh had a chance to talk to T.J. earlier this week. Rich?
Bob, there's no doubt T.J. Watt is a game wrecker. We've seen it multiple times over the years, including Week 1 in Atlanta. And this week he has a chance to make history. He only needs a half sack for 100 sacks in his career. And if he accomplishes that, he would be the second fastest player to do that in the entire NFL career. And I had a chance to go one-on-one with Watt before we left for Indianapolis. Congratulations on the new addition. How much does that change your life right now?
Huge. It's huge. My wife, Danny, is a trooper. She's doing absolutely amazing through this pregnancy. I have so much respect for women that are going through pregnancy, and I'm just, more than anything, just so excited for a healthy mom, healthy baby through all this process.
I saw your brother, JJ, he gave you the shirt and everything in that interview. Is it weird doing interviews with your brother on national TV now?
Yeah, especially before a game. I mean, I don't love doing interviews in general, but let alone on, right before a game. But to be able to have that to look back on 10 years from now is going to be really special.
He did say he thinks you're going to be better than him. Do you think that?
I don't know. That's not for me to say. That's the cool part about all of this is I'm just so involved and I'm so trying to make the most out of each and every week, each and every play that I'm out here that I'll do all that reflecting when I'm done.
What about this defense? What makes it so special this year? I mean, you guys are #1 in the NFL right now.
It's a good mix of young and old, a lot of new talent that we've acquired from free agency in the offseason. But that talent is guys that have done it at a high level. It's D. Jack, D. Elliott, P. Queen, and then you have guys in their second year like Joey and Keanu and Nick, and Alex was playing good ball until he got hurt. And I think it's just guys that fly around, make a lot of plays, and we have a lot of fun.
Last question, I'll let you go. This week you have the Colts. It seems like a perfect kind of matchup for this Steelers team this year.
It is. It's every week in the NFL is a tough matchup, honestly. I feel like we're sitting here every week talking about how we need to stop the run and make them one-dimensional, but that's kind of just what it's been this year so far, and these guys have such an explosive offense, but it all starts with stopping the run.
And speaking of Watt, TJ and his teammates have teamed up to make students smile since the start of the school year. Watt, along with guys like Alex Highsmith, Larry Ogunjobi, Pat Fryermuth, have helped more than 4,500 kids in the Pittsburgh area with back-to-school supplies. This is something that means a lot to Highsmith because both of his parents were educators.
Parents were both educators, so I grew up in a household where it's education. You got to do good. You got to have good grades, and so I just think it's so important to start kids off on the right track going to the school year. And so that's just something that just really, to me, is most important is going to the school year, and that's why we do the backpack drive with the kids.
And Cam Hayward and Russell Wilson also chipped in, and Deshaun Elliott surprised a group of students with a back-to-school shopping spree. So good for the Steelers. Guys, back to you.
That's all because of people like Charlie Batch, who set the tone for this kind of stuff. I know you've done it for years, so congrats. And Charlie, TJ Watt looks really as dominant as ever. He's good in so many ways, including the run game, which I don't think he gets enough credit for. What stands out about you over all these years, and especially this year?
I think when you look at where he's at, and especially showing up in that run game, he's stout. He doesn't allow defenders to push him off the ball. That's why they run away from him, and that's why Nick Herbert is going to get a lot of action here today. But his quickness allows him to run the ball down from behind, and that's ultimately contributing what he's doing. And then when you heard Rich talk about that 99.5 sacks, and there's only one person who is there faster, Reggie White. So if you're in that category, we already know that TJ is deserving of the Hall of Fame, even though we're watching that career unfold right before our eyes. It's a beautiful thing.
Check box already, no question. Well, here's another live look from Lucas Oil Stadium as the Steelers get ready for the Colts, a game you'll see 1 o'clock right here on KDKA. When we return on Steelers Kickoff, Rich has a preview of Anthony Richardson and the Colts. We will be right back.
How good can this team be?
Next best thing is 4-0.
That defense, arguably the best in the NFL.
I think the Steelers are winning the way that I think we thought they would.
The Steelers are taking care of business.
Steelers at the Colts.
Ready for some football? We have another look at downtown Indianapolis and the Peyton Manning statue on display outside of Lucas Oil Stadium. Steelers and Colts this afternoon right here on KDKA. And right now we're going to head back out to Indy, where Rich Walsh has a deeper dive into the 2024 Colts, who got a big win last week to improve their record to 1-2. Led by second-year quarterback Anthony Richardson. Missed last year's game, but he's back. So is Jonathan Taylor, Rich.
Bob, unlike the Steelers, the Colts have a clear-cut starter at quarterback. The problem with Richardson right now, he's completing too many passes to the other team. After having his rookie season cut short due to injury, Anthony Richardson began this season with high expectations. Unfortunately for him, those expectations may have been set too high. Through 3 games, Richardson has the worst completion percentage of any starting quarterback in the NFL and leads the league with 6 interceptions. But the young QB does have skill, especially while running the football, so the Steelers will need to try and contain him to the pocket. Jonathan Taylor is still the Colts' bell cow out of the backfield. He's off to a good start with over 100 yards rushing in 2 of their 3 games, and they do have a few weapons on the outside and young receivers, Alec Pierce and Michael Pittman. Pierce is their big play threat. He's averaged 25 yards per catch and has 2 TDs. Defensively, the Colts rank in the middle of the pack in points allowed, but they're nearly dead last in total yards given up. They've been especially bad against the run, allowing 180 yards per game on the ground. In their loss against the Packers, they allowed an astounding 261 rushing yards, but Indy does have home field advantage on their side today. Locals call this building the Loud House, and it was apparently too loud for the Steelers last year when the Colts blew them out in Week 15. All right, as we can see in today's South College game plan, the plan for the Steelers might be to stick to the running game. As I mentioned earlier, the Colts have struggled to stop the run, especially on 3rd down, although they were much better in their win over the Bears last week. Surprisingly, they've only allowed 1 rushing touchdown this season, and on paper, this looks like a great matchup, a very favorable matchup for the Steelers. Stop the run, and hopefully Richardson throws a couple interceptions to that Steelers defense.
That's a good recipe right there, Rich. Thank you. And for more on how the Steelers might attack the Colts defense, it's time to head into the Factor Back studio for another edition of The Playbook with Merrill Hodge.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex for the Acrisure Playbook. Okay, the Colts defense has struggled. They got some injuries against the run. And the heart of their defense has been really the problem even from week 1. This is week 1. Defensive linemen are getting moved, and the offensive line does a good job of even snagging a linebacker as he comes off. But you can see all the running lanes that are created in the middle of this defense. And that all starts if you can get movement with the defensive line, which they do that. Then they get the second level block, and your back is off into the secondary, and that ends up being a big run in the NFL. We're going to first watch the double teams with the offensive line. They do a great job. But this is another problem the Colts are having, is their second level defenders, the linebackers. They're not getting to the line of scrimmage in a timely fashion and creating 2 lines of defense, which you like. as an offense because it gives you running lanes. And here's a great example. Great double teams to the left. Now, the double team on the hash mark, they don't do a very good job, but the back takes care of that. And the linebackers are not hitting the line of scrimmage. They're delaying and going lateral. Well, that helps you as an offense because now you can get to the second level. And when you do that, you have a seal here, a seal there, and what I call a canale. I mean, your back takes care of this. Big time runs. The Colts have struggled. Their injuries have played a factor here, and the Steelers have been very good there. So it is a big ask for the Colts this week to try to stop what the Steelers do so well as far as running the ball goes.
Thanks, Merrill, but it's only 1.5 or 2 points, depending on how you look with the spread here. So, Charlie, the Steelers are riding high this year, but less than a year ago, they were blown out by the same team in that same building. What's the difference between that team and this team?
Well, this year there's a different offensive philosophy. Obviously, you changed coordinators last year, Matt Canada, this year Arthur Smith. So the identity of this football team is through that offensive line. They've been able to run the football and control the time of possession. As the numbers sway heavily against to the Steelers' favor, they just have to caution themselves because crowd noise ultimately could be a factor today. And if that's the case, that means that offensive line is going to get off to a split-second slower start than what they've had in the past.
I expect a lot of fans from Pittsburgh to be at this.
Oh, absolutely.
Too. All right, now it's time to take the show to New York City. James Brown is standing by with a look at what's to come on the NFL Today on CBS. JB?
Hey, Bob, thank you so much. Up next on the NFL Today, your Steelers looking to continue their winning ways. That's when they head to Indy to take on the Colts. We'll preview that one. And the guys will break down your Steelers and the remaining undefeated squads in the league. Then we'll dissect the lackluster play of superstar tight end Travis Kelce. That's before we look ahead as Kelce, Mahomes, and the Chiefs take on the Chargers. But first, Bob and Charlie, they return when Steelers Kickoff continues right here on KDKA.
Steelers Kickoff is presented by Ford. The Ford F-150 is the official truck of the Pittsburgh Steelers and the best-selling truck in Pittsburgh.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We talked earlier about how well the Steelers have been converting third downs this year, and much of that success actually starts one play earlier. Let's take a look at the average yards per play so far this year on second down. It's big because it's risen every week for the first 3 games. And last week, they averaged almost 8 yards a play. So, Charlie, how important is it to set you up for this kind of success on third down by what you do on first and second?
Yeah, this is critical because Arthur Smith does a nice job of setting up plays with formations as the game moves on. So, first down is important, and if you can get to that particular point, second and medium, now it opens it up, and Justin doesn't have to force the ball down the field, take what the defense gives him as he's looking to move the change.
You know, a lot was made about the Steelers not using the middle of the field in the passing game. We've done that over and over again. But, boy, it's changed over the last couple of weeks. Not the case last week. Let's take a look first at the chart from week 1 in Atlanta here, where there were no passes in the middle of the field. Fast forward to last week against the Chargers, and it looks so much better. Charlie, do you think that was play calling or simply Fields becoming more comfortable with his reads?
Yeah, a lot of it depends on who was on the other side. And in week 1, it was Jesse Bates. You're familiar with who Arthur Smith was because of his time in Atlanta, so he didn't want him to disrupt the game. But now as you get to these moving forward and you get to these other defenses right now, you're going to see Justin Fields starting to take a little bit more of the middle of the field as well.
Yeah, they need to do that again today, too, against this depleted Indy defense. Almost out of time here on Steelers Kickoff. But we're taking a live look. We talk about Steeler fans in Indianapolis. Maybe another takeover. Maybe it's the home team that has to go on silent counts. We got our predictions coming up as we head back to Lucas Oil Stadium right after this short timeout.
Welcome back to BetMGM Steelers Kickoff.
All right, welcome back. We take a look at who's in and who's out. Russell Wilson, once again, the third quarterback. Kyle Allen is the backup. Isaac Seumalo is out. Jalen Warren's out. Roman Wilson is inactive. He's healthy, not playing. And, of course, Alex Highsmith is out as well. All right, so it's time for predictions now, so let's get back to it. And, Rich, you're first up today.
Bob, I really like this matchup for the Steelers this week in Indianapolis. It seems like a very favorable matchup for the Steelers. Stop Jonathan Taylor. That won't be easy, but if they do that, put the game in Anthony Richardson's hands, and he should throw a couple interceptions. I like the Steelers winning this one 23-13.
Charlie, what do you say?
Yeah, season numbers tell me that this should be a blowout, but I think this game is going to be close throughout the entire game. Steelers score late. They win 17-12.
All right, Gerry Dulac, he predicts also the Steelers win, and so do I. Although I have a strange feeling about this. Sooner or later in the NFL, something happens. A hiccup comes along, but I think the Steelers will win this game 23-17. Hey, we're just getting started. We have the NFL Today on CBS coming up. Afterwards, it's the 1 o'clock kickoff. Steelers and Colts on your Steelers, home for regular season and preseason football. That's KDKA. Afterwards, we have 2 hours of postgame, Extra Point, the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. That comes up at 5. And then tonight, around midnight, it's the #1 Conference Sports Showdown. So always a lot going on. Thanks for joining us today. For Rich and Gerry and Charlie, I'm Bob Pompeani. Have a great Steelers game day. You'll see it at 1 right here on KDKA.